here's another teaching with Tawnya. All right, in my last episode, we talked about spirit guides, and towards the end, we started talking about mediumship, and then I was like, maybe I could talk about mediumship. So, I'm trying to ask Spirit, I'm like, what do we want to talk about mediumship? When I talked about on the last episode of having your spirit team, like your spirit guide and your team, you talk to them. I was telling some of my clients before, because they're like, well, I never feel my family around or whatever. And there is a grief process that happens when we lose our loved ones. As we all know, and we're very sad about missing those contact with our loved ones. I am very, very different, as you know. I'm not emotional about death. I am and I'm not. It's very weird. It's like I know what's happening on the other side, and I know the transition. So when my grandma had passed away, she was like ready to go. And in the previous episode, you heard me talk the story about when she saw her spirit guides before she had passed away with her eyeballs. And when I was on her deathbed, and I asked her, I was like, are your spirit guide team? She goes, no, they're only here when I call them. And she was starting to like, the veil was becoming thin. Like she was bouncing back from this reality to the other side. And the veil was very thin for her. So there was a lot of emotions, of course, going on, but I didn't cry at my grandma's passing. I only cried when my son started crying and saying, Mom, or saying, Grandma, I'm gonna miss you. And that's when I started crying. But when she had passed, and I was like, hugging on her and kissing her, and she had said to me, quit kissing that dead body, I'm not in there. And I was like clear as day, right? As like you're hearing me, and I was like, what the fuck? And I was like, that's funny. And I kind of looked at my aunt, and I was like, that's funny. I just heard Grandma say this, and she just kind of looked at me because, it's awkward, right? Like somebody's dying, but yet I'm hearing them clear as day. It was a very weird spot for me. And we had like all these signs, like my grandma was going to show me hearts. My aunt was going to have like butterflies. My other aunt was going to be like cardinals or eagles or something, right? And I had and I could hear her clear, and I'm thinking like, how the fuck am I doing this? Like it must have been because I just talked to her. Like, I don't know, right? Well, I could hear her, and she would then she gave us signs. I think that was just an orb that flew across, but she would give us signs with butterflies and everything else. And I could feel when she was around me. And then when in meditation, I saw her, and she came to me, and she taught me a lot about the other side. Like shit I didn't know. But I was so emotionally, as spirit is touching my head, clear, and sitting where my emotions, and I wasn't, I don't know, I was just solid, where Grandma was able to make a lot of contact and teach me shit. And I've had, when I was reading people, I have talked to their past loved ones, and they're like, we're standing right next to them. We're standing right next to her, but she's just crying and she can't hear us. And we get so numb. And, I've had a lot of people who've come to me who have been scared of death and scared of the transition and losing contact with a family. And it's it is so thin. To make contact with the other side is so easy, especially when you move out of your head and into your heart. Most of the time they want to talk to you. There is a window, they're learning shit on the other side. We're constantly evolving and learning, no matter if you're on Earth side or spirit side, you're learning. And for some reason, for me, I don't like to call myself a medium, but whatever I am, intuitive, medium, psychic medium, whatever. The moment of their passing, that when they just passed, is so easy for me to read them. My friend's dad passed away, and he came to me and he's like, hey, I just passed away. Tell Tommy. And I was like, dude, your dad just passed away? She's like, yeah. I was like, holy shit. But he was immediately contact. I was like, what's up? He wants to talk to you. It was immediate contact. And she's, of course, obviously gets to talk to her own dad, but like, to me, after reading a lot of mediumship, I can tell how long they've passed by how close they are. It's very weird. I have this, every medium is different the way they communicate, but they're definitely open to talking to you. And I don't know how. I'm not like the person to be like, hey, this is how to get through grief, because every process is different. Everybody's emotions are different. Their situation is different. But I do know that spirit is always wanting, like your past loved ones is always wanting to make contact with you and be like, what's up? I've had people who, it was so funny. I did a gallery ship reading like last year, sold out because the room could only hold like, I don't know, 30 people? No, 25, 26, I don't remember, 26, something like that, almost 30, whatever. And I'm pretty quick, and it was like 2.5 hours, and everybody ended up getting a reading just because I can move pretty quickly. I guess I'm also very different, which people have said. Anyway, I had this one woman come in. So her daughter's earth side, her parents' spirit side. And she's in the back of the room, and her mom comes in, spirit side, and she's like, wow, what do we got going on here? And I was like, what's up? And she's like, so, because she was awkward. And I was like, your family was religious? She's like, yeah. And I was like, even on the other side, because this is very foreign for them, like they know they can do it. They can obviously hear me. I can see them. We're having a conversation. I try to say it's like this 3-way, right? And they're like, okay, well, I don't want to take up too much time. She was the sweetest old lady. I was like, oh my gosh. The mom was like so nice. And I was like, hey. And she's like, I don't know what to say. It was so funny. The dad didn't even say anything. He's just standing there. I was like, and I feel bad because I know people like watch Caputo or whatever her name is and Tyler Henry, and they like have these like messages, and I'm like, and they come to me very literal. And I said it, and sometimes my body will morph into that. That's why I'm a video person. And they're like, oh my God, they say it just like that, or their hand expression, and they'll show me that. And sometimes, especially if they've spiritually evolved, they get very like heady, and I'm like, you could have just shot it to me straight. And it's funny because their personality definitely comes over, and how much they've evolved, like this side, earth side, and spirit side. So it's funny because I've people come up to me. I had this one guy, oh my God, he was so funny. He's in the room and she's sitting across from me, and he's like, I don't believe in this shit. And I'm like, I know, I got it. This is spirit side, right? And he's like, I don't know how this is working. I don't know what you're doing, but I want to talk to her. And it was like his brother or something, or her brother. It was so funny. And I feel bad because like people are very emotional, and I get it. I've been on the other side of the table, and I want to just hear from my grandma, right? And I'm like, what do you have to say? And then you get it and you get all emotional, but yet they're very like talking to me like if you were talking to a friend at coffee, or like some of the people, like if they were drinking and they're just talking to you like a friend, and I'm over here like, this is so awkward. I guess I'm very entertaining with my mediumship readings, like gallery style. I've only done a few. I would like to do more. I just don't know where to yet hold them in Kansas City. So it's really funny because they just come across, and it's like, and sometimes they're very emotional, and then sometimes they're like this is awkward. What do we do? And I think where I feel like the reasons what hold me back personally on like doing mediumship readings is because I feel like I know what that spot is. I know when you missed your loved ones. Like I completely get it. And you want this like profound message, and I feel like, did I even give that to you? Because like they're just sitting here like, cool, like what do they want to know? What's up? For me, most of the people, like I'm not, what is that, an evidential medium? Like whatever. I mean, unless there's like a lot of questions, then I can help with that. But like they want to talk about like what they've been doing on the other side so many times. They're like, hey, want to tell you like what they're doing over there. And some people are like, that's not what I wanted to talk about. So I'm always like, what do you want to talk about? So I feel like I have a lot of pressure on myself because I'm like, what are you wanting to them to say? Because I can tell you, like, they want to know what's going on. It was just, I don't know, that part I think is really interesting. There was this other one I was doing in the gallery, and her grandma spoke Spanish, and she started speaking Spanish. I was like, and she's looking at me, and I was like, your grandma speaks Spanish? And she's like, yeah. And I was like, translator! I need a translator! help, translator. And of course she's laughing. I was like, just give me a second. So I'm waiting, I'm like, and then of course then the grandma can speak English, which is weird, but it's like so much crazy stuff happens. I have learned so much about the other side, about heaven, about reincarnation, about so much stuff from y'all's family. Like, I'm like, wow, that's interesting. Tell me more. Like, it's just, it's so, that part is fun, but I feel bad because I'm like, if somebody's really in grief, I'm like, they want to love you and have fun and like talk about things. But that's how mediumship is with me. So your family always does want to like have contact and like get to, visit with you. So anyway, that's my story. That's my teachings of like, try to connect with it. I don't even know if it's teachings, but anyway, that's all this episode. Hope you enjoy it. Let me know in the comments. Share with a friend, especially if somebody's having grief about their past loved one or maybe just need to pick me up. Share this video. They might really like it. All right, talk soon. Hope you enjoyed this episode.